This is the Monica Matthews Show. So today I have with me Mr. Paul Mehner of District 40. He's running for state senate. As you know, I like to highlight candidates who are willing to step outside of the comfort zone of life, out of their careers, out of their churches, people who are answering the call to occupy politically. I know that's a touchy subject for some of you, but Mr. Paul Mehner basically embodies the professional acumen, the spiritual acumen, as well as a political understanding of the things that are and are not working in District 40. He is up against Senator Fran Millar. Some of you may be familiar with him. If you're not, you're about to become even more acquainted with him and some of the antics that, quite frankly, Georgians are pretty tired of. And whenever I met Paul, I found him to be extremely personable, very passionate about his district, about the state, about the changes that need to be made, about children, about taxes, certainly about refugee resettlement. I know that's very important to many of you, certainly is to me. It's not cost effective the way that it's being handled now, and it's in his direct line of fire in District 40. So welcome, Mr. Paul Mehner, to the Monica Matthews Show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
good
good.
To be here.
Sounds like you've got some allergy stuff going on.
Yeah, trying to fight a cold here.
Yeah, well, the stress of running for political office.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Well, Paul, tell us about yourself. Tell us where you're from.
My name is Paul Mehner. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I was born here. I
Wow.
was raised here.
Where were you born?
At the Georgia Baptist Hospital.
Really?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And
Wow.
I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, that's a miracle, but you never meet natives, like hardly ever.
Yeah, there are very few of us.
Right, right.
My wife also born here, raised here, still here.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been married 34 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Another miracle. Congratulations.
That goes to show you how smart she is.
Yeah.
Actually, to be fair, she would say that goes to show you how patient I am.
Oh, wow. I love it.
She's probably right about that.
I love it. I love it. And you have kids?
We have one child. His name is Travis.
Travis.
He's an Iraq war vet.
Wow.
I married him 6 years ago, I think, 7 in June.
Okay.
To his bride, Megan. We have 2 grandchildren, 2 boys, Ethan, the oldest, and then Christopher. And they're wonderful children. I love them so much. But they live in Washington State, so that's quite a commute to go and spend some time with them.
Right. Well, so you would probably align with what another one of my guests said in reference to being a man of legacy and understanding how important it is to get involved with the political field of life, because that's really a place where you can make a difference and where you can ensure that your children and your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, have an American legacy to look forward to. So why are you in this race? What was it that inspired you?
Well, you're right. What really got my interest in this race was education and the education policy in Georgia. As I think back, being a native of the state, lived in DeKalb County almost my whole entire adult life. I'm very familiar with the DeKalb County schools. They used to be some of the best schools in all of the country.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Georgia used to have some of the best schools, and now we suck and win. We're dead last. And
why do you think that is?
Well, it has to be education policy, right? Common Core education policy has failed our children. It has failed the parents that are trying to help teach their children. It's a failure to the teachers trying to help teach the children. Overall, Common Core and its curriculum is a complete and total failure. And my opponent is a champion of Common Core. It's very, very expensive. So that's what really inspired me to come off of the professional world as a financial advisor and to get in and to fight for positive change for the kids, for my grandchildren, and to help put common sense education policy back in Georgia.
Right.
I believe in local control of the school system. We do not have public schools anymore. I want to make that clear. Public schools have gone away. We have government schools, and the curriculum is being mandated at the federal level. I'd love to see the Department of Education just go poof. It's pushed down through into the Common Core because Georgia takes the money. It's all about the money always, isn't it? Because we take the money, we have to implement this program, and so education policy is mandated at the state level. And I'd love to see each local district be in charge of their own education.
Right. Well, and speaking of education, so I know one of the things that's a hot button for you is the TAD here in DeKalb County. And your opponent has been pushing that pretty heavily, from what I understand. And, you know, they're still standing strong. Tell us about that. Tell us about TAD. A lot of people are not aware of what that is and the implications of it.
Well, the Doraville Tax Allocation District, TAD, is a great concept. It's a great idea. Really, it is. I live within 2 miles of the closed GM plant, and I'd love to see that whole area redeveloped. It'd help our property values a lot. It really would. But the current government contract signed on by the Doraville City Council and approved by the DeKalb County Commission 7-0. Have you ever known them to do anything except 7-0? Is very telling. 80% of the cost to fund the Doraville TAD is put on the backs of the school children. They're expecting the DeKalb County Board of Education to pay 80% of the cost to redevelop that area.
Right.
And that is outrageous.
Right.
Our schools are already in serious trouble. And I was talking to the mayor at her home 2 weekends ago, maybe 3 now, I think. And she told me, she said, well, this is a private transaction between the developer and GM, and that the private developer agreed to clean up the site. I said, well, that's great news. Let's let the developer spend his money to clean up the contamination at the Doraville site. And it's a pretty serious contamination problem. But a part of the Doraville TAD, the Tax Allocation District, is they expect DeKalb County residents to pony up the money to pay to clean up this contamination. Out of the 89 General Motors sites, 89 have closed. All of them have had serious contamination problems. Serious contamination problems. How is it possible that we got the lucky straw that the Doraville plant is the only one without a problem? And I questioned the mayor, Mayor Pittman, about her vote, her council's vote on this issue. Did you vote after reviewing contamination reports? I don't want to get into that here. And I asked Nancy Jester and a couple of the others at the DeKalb County Commission the same question. Did you vote and review the contamination reports first? No comment. Well, if you go to the state's EPD website and look it up, you'll find that there is no contamination reports completed. How is it possible that elected officials at any level, city, county, and especially at the state level, the incumbent, pushing a multi-million-dollar project, hundreds of millions of dollars, without even having a contamination report to review? That's cronyism at its best.
Right. Right. Well, if you're just tuning in, we're speaking with Senate hopeful, Mr. Paul Mainor of District 40. Two-man race at this point in terms of Republicans. So we've got Senator Fran Millar, who is up for re-election, and Paul Mainor, and I believe we have a Democratic.
There is a Democratic opponent, yes.
Okay. But we're talking about TAD. We're talking about other things that are important to Mr. Mainor that he would like to see changed in District 40. For those of you who are not familiar with him, that's why I brought him on, because he has a great story, has a lot of passion, a lot of knowledge about the things that are that have gone awry. And with regard to, it's been reported that Mr. Millar, Senator Millar, tends to have a little bit of a temper problem.
He does.
Yeah, and I have some friends who have run into DeKalb County GOP meetings. They just kind of sit down, shut up. It's no longer go along to get along. It's like sit down and shut up. So pretty rough. And I've also been privy to information that when he has a lot in common, apparently, this is my humble opinion, with the likes of Disney and Coca-Cola. It's like, well, if you go along with us, we're going to move our companies. Well, if you don't go along with TAD, we will never see development in DeKalb County again.
It's my job as the candidate, as the opponent, to bring out the voting record of the incumbent. And it's my job to point out, as a candidate, the attitude and the behavior of the incumbent. And it is definitely in question here. And yes, I've been in meetings where I have heard him literally screaming at voters who live in the district, sit, like they're a dog. It's just shameful. It's just completely disgraceful. And when you've got no good voting record, the only tactic that you have left is to try to attack. And so an incumbent with no voting record that goes negative is because they've got nothing to run on re-election for this in a positive way.
Agreed. Talk to me about this refugee resettlement that you're so passionate about.
To continue a program that brings individuals into our state, into our country like this, is a disgrace. And so I'm calling for a halt to the entire refugee resettlement program until we get a vetting program in place that can guarantee the safety and the security of the citizens.
Right.
And they come to Clarkston. That's the hub. The center of refugee resettlement is in Clarkston. Why? Because of all of these grants that are taking place at the request of the incumbent, my opponent. They have to live in Clarkston. They have to be centered in DeKalb County, some in Fulton County. They stay here for 90 days, and then they move out into other parts of the state.
Yeah, with no care.
With no
oversight,
no supervision,
no,
nothing.
Right. You're listening to the Monica Matthews Show. When we return, we'll continue our conversation with Paul Maynor, District 40, DeKalb County Republican Senate hopeful. When we come back, we're going to talk about a subject matter that we all love to hate, taxes.
Monica Matthews music will take you places. Inspiring, transcendental, stirring. Monica Matthews, a spirit-filled journey for the mind and the soul. Called Breathtaking, a mystical journey to a faraway place, liquid harmony. Monica Matthews, Windows, available on iTunes, CD Baby, and other fine download sites.
How many times have you heard someone say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual? Well, I'm calling you guys to get religious because according to the Lord, true religion, undefiled, is caring for the widow and the orphan, and keeping oneself unspotted from the world. So I can't help you stay unspotted from the world, but one thing I can do is ask you to join me in my effort to serve widows and orphans. The fatherless. Having been a widow for the past 17 years and having my own child who's been fatherless, I'm asking you to partner with me to ensure that women and children have food on their table. If anyone knows what that feels like, it would be me. Many times when we needed food or we needed utility help, I was able to call upon people who had a heart for me and for my daughter. And I'm asking you to join me in my efforts, my Monica's Moms initiative, to make sure that mothers and their children have food. And here's how I'm going to do it. I need your help in identifying women who could use help with regard to food, giving away $100 Kroger gift cards. You can email me at monica@monicamatthews.com. Send in a testimony of someone who you think could use the help, and let's do the Lord's work together and practice true religion. I know you guys know of someone who could use the help, so I need your help telling me who I can get one of these $100 gift cards to. So make sure you email me at monica@monicamatthews.com for Monica's Moms.
Heading straight for you, you will only be eternally
listening to the Monica Matthews Show, and we're talking with Paul Maynor, who is a Senate hopeful from DeKalb County's District 40, Republican Senate hopeful. We're going to talk about taxes.
Taxes is a big problem. As a financial advisor, I'm a financial advisor. I've been a financial advisor for 20 years now, almost 21. Most of my clients are between age 65 and 80. Of course, I have clients of all ages, but that's mostly my niche. And taxes is a big problem for people who are on fixed income. In DeKalb County, since Senator Millar has been in office, DeKalb County residents have overpaid their school tax by more than $1 billion. By more than $1 billion. There are 5 school districts that pay more than 20 mills. DeKalb County is one of them. This program was put in place because of the DeKalb College back in the 70s. The USG, the University System of Georgia, took it over in 1987. And so the repeal of that tax has never happened. Now, I can't blame Senator Millar from 1987 before he took office, obviously. But for the 18 years he's been in office, he's done nothing about it. I have a video of him talking about this overcharged tax, if you will. And he would like for us to all forget about his first 10 years in office. Sir, we are not forgetting about one day. He's done absolutely nothing about helping the taxpayers in DeKalb County with their school tax. The next to the last day of last year's General Assembly, in the quiet of night, past 11 p.m., they passed this wonderful, everybody loves it, this gas tax. We got increased by 6 cents, 9 cents on diesel. And the tax also includes a $5 per night charge at anyone staying in a hotel and motel. That's pretty serious. All this after 2 previous election cycles, back to back, where the General Assembly gave the people of Georgia an opportunity to vote on an extra 1% sales tax. You remember that? Yes, of course. We all remember the first time Georgians overwhelmingly voted it no. Why? Because we don't trust our state government to do what they say they're going to do. The second time, it got passed, it failed even more overwhelmingly than the first time. Twice the people of Georgia spoke. According to Mr. Millar, we're too stupid to have understood the 2 options. He said that on his Facebook page, not in those words. He said it was a convoluted option that the people of Georgia didn't understand what they were voting on, and that the General Assembly should have just done something about this years ago. Now, all that being said, the very first week of this year's General Assembly, would you like to guess what they found?
What's that?
They found an extra $1 billion. The exact amount of money they said they needed for transportation. And the General Assembly, all those legislators, they're so nice. They just sent everybody in Georgia their refund check. Isn't that great? Did you get yours?
I did.
You did? Well, you're the only one.
It's because I'm special. It's because I'm a talk show host.
No, they didn't. They spent the money.
Right.
Did they spend it on transportation? No.
Right.
And so cronyism at its best being played out again. These are things that people in Georgia are very, very passionate about. One other thing about taxes. I support the Georgia Fair tax. I'd even love to see it at a county level and just get rid of property taxes, school tax completely. It would raise more money having a Georgia sales tax. Some of the opponents of the Georgia sales tax would say, well, I would argue that Florida and Tennessee and Texas, it works really good there. They raise a lot of money. And their argument is well, they're a tourism state. Do you know what our number 2 industry is in Georgia?
Tourism.
Tourism in Georgia is number 2 and raised more than $58 billion last year. And so wouldn't it be great to no longer have the Georgia Department of Revenue? Some federal presidential candidates talk about taxes on a postcard. Well, I think that's great, but it's a little too much paper for me.
So if I'm in District 40, why am I voting for you?
You're voting for me to get rid of cronyism and corruption in DeKalb County.
Okay.
Number one, I think everyone agrees corruption in DeKalb County is very, very real. Mm-hmm. You noted some of this corruption when Lee May had problems last year with the Hyde report that came out. I went down to the Lee May town hall meeting, and I took to the mic. And I said, look, the Republicans are going to blame the Democrats for corruption in DeKalb County, but not so fast. It's in both parties. Mm-hmm. Do you remember Elaine Boyer, mm-hmm. Bob Lunston, mm-hmm. and Representative Tom Taylor? Do you know what those three have in common?
Your opponent.
Fran Miller. And he's done nothing in the legislature for 18 years about it. The P card mess is a big problem.
Well, they're calling for Tom Taylor's resignation. So what do you think is going to happen with that?
Well, he's continuing to fight for re-election, but good luck to him. I think the Dunwoody Crier today said that he still had some public service, mm-hmm. Community service left in him, and I do agree he does, mm-hmm. picking up trash off the side of the road. But he is a complete disgrace. Why his good friend, the incumbent senator, hasn't called for his resignation, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're talking about education, taxes, refugee resettlement, firearms. You are a proponent of firearms. Apparently, Senator Millar does not think our Second Amendment is that important.
He votes against the Second Amendment every opportunity he gets, including this General Assembly. He sure did.
And economic development is important to you as well.
Of course, economic development is very important. We talked a little bit about the TAD. Taxes is a huge component mm-hmm. to bringing jobs to DeKalb County. We can get our taxes at the DeKalb County level in control. Businesses can come to DeKalb. We can get a good tax system for Georgia. And as a state senator, I'd push for a good tax policy. It just brings jobs here. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of jobs moving here now. Imagine how many more would come if we had a favorable tax system.
Right. So in closing, do you have anything you want to say about this apparent lawsuit? Well,
I will say this. It is I am aware of the lawsuit. Mm-hmm. This is a dispute over services rendered by my campaign company mm-hmm. who fired a disgruntled employee. And we will vigorously fight this lawsuit, and we will win. Which reminds me, this is a serious problem at the state level, isn't it? Mm-hmm. State contracts. Mm-hmm. We've got state senators and state representatives giving out contracts to vendors all over the state. Some at 3 and 4 times the amount the job is worth. And look at the quality of work that we get from them, and they just continue to pay them, and it's status quo. Well, there will be a new sheriff in town on May the 25th.
And speaking of, May 24th is primaries. Early voting is May 2nd. But I appreciate you getting out in front of that story because it was brought to my attention via Twitter in a very unprofessional manner. In a very accusative manner, coming from this exact gang of 8, as I refer to them. And I appreciate you getting out in front of it because it speaks to your character. It speaks to the transparency that Georgians are looking for, that people promise us we're going to have before we go in to vote for them, and then we don't. So I appreciate you having the courage to get out in front of the story, and thank you. And as a previous campaign manager, I can tell you that's exactly where you want to be. You want to be in front of things. Things happen in life, and the attacks that were coming against you were personal on Twitter. And my answer to that was, you know what? All it's really indicative of is the litigious society that we live in.
That's right.
It's not indicative of your inability or your ineffectiveness as a leader or to honor contracts. There are 2 people in a contract.
Right.
Not just one. So whenever one takes exception to how something's not fulfilled, you may end up in court. All of us could eventually end up in court. But so to me, it would not, I just appreciate you getting out in front of the story because it's just a matter of transparency, and it speaks to your character. It also speaks to the character of your incumbent, who would utilize something personal and frivolous as opposed to his ability to lead District 40 in the manner that your residents and your citizens deserve to be led.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. On all of my campaign literature, my personal cell phone is on there. We're doing town hall meetings. You can find those locations and times at my campaign Facebook page.
Okay.
It's facebook.com/Team Mainor.
Okay.
Also, we'll post things on my personal page. Paul Mainor, you can find me. My lovely wife is there with me. She makes me look good.
I love it. Okay, Paul, who are some of the people who have endorsed you?
We've been endorsed by the Georgia Right to Life. I'm very proud of that endorsement. It's a very high-profile endorsement. We've also been endorsed by the Georgia Republican Assembly.
Okay. Opt out Georgia?
Opt out Georgia is what got me here in this race to begin with. Teaching parents that their children can opt out of the Milestones test.
Well, Paul Mainor, thank you for being here with us today, and I wish you many blessings. Thank you for having the courage to step out and to run, to get involved, roll your sleeves up, get involved, and thank you for proving that it's a lot of people stay home because they think it's really the dollars that's going to make the difference in running a campaign and winning or losing, and it's not.
Well, this is a very important race for Georgia.
Right.
I promise you that people all over Georgia are looking at this District 40 race. And we're in this to win, and we're in this to represent the people. I believe in representative government, and we have not been represented the last 18 years. The last 2 years, the incumbent has gotten through the General Assembly nothing, zero, absolutely nothing. And I'm a negotiator. I know how to work with other people. I've spent 21 years as a financial advisor doing just that, and I look forward to working for the people in District 40 in the state of Georgia. And I appreciate so much your time and the opportunity to come and to get our message out today.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here.